I'll hand over to you, Bethan, to start.
Thank you very much, Natasha. So good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us today to hear about our online Masters of Public Health programme. My name's Bethan Davis, and I'm an Associate Clinical Professor in the School of Public Health and one of the co-directors of this course, together with Dr. Thomas Hone, who is an Associate Professor in Health Systems Research. So I'm joined on the call today by colleagues who deliver the programme, Dr. Natasha Kroom, who's the Deputy Director of the Masters programme, Anna Sjada, who works as the programme coordinator, Patson Godino, who is the core administrator, and we have two alumni of this programme as well, James Vasilingam and Ifoma Nakata, who will both talk to your course. So as we go through the course of this webinar, everyone's going to introduce themselves and you'll have a chance to meet all of us. So what we're going to do over the course of this webinar is have a look in detail at our programme, which includes the master's course and also a certificate and a diploma. We're going to look at how our course is delivered and how students learn on our programme. We'll hear from our alumni, we'll look at the admissions process from entry requirements through to offers, and there'll be an opportunity for you at the end to ask any questions that you have. So as we're going through the slides today, could I encourage you to write any questions you have into the Q&A function, and then we'll make sure we answer as many of those as we can during the session. So what you can see on the slide in front of you is a lovely photograph of our South Kensington campus lit up on a what looks like a nice summer evening. And we're going to look at the overall programme that we offer. So our master's programme is a part-time online programme that can be completed in either 2 or 3 years. It's a flexible degree programme which allows students to tailor their studies both by choosing the elective modules they want to match their career needs, but also around flexibility around undertaking the programme to fit in with other commitments. So one of the key take-home messages from this is that there is no requirement to attend in person on one of our campuses. So you're going to hear in more detail about this flexible learning pathway that we offer, but we offer quite a portfolio of elective modules where there's a lot of choice for individual students to really put together the programme that they're most interested to study so that the learning you do can be matched to your experiences, your interests and your career aspirations. And all of this is designed through an engaging virtual learning environment where you'll see a structured programme of activities comprising videos, e-activities, live sessions, office hours, and it's all set out into modules, divided into weeks, divided into lessons. So on this next slide, you can see a photograph of our purpose-built School of Public Health building, which is located in White City in West London. And we're going to have a look at the course that we have. So our course supports students to acquire cutting-edge knowledge and skills, those that are required to pursue a career in public health practice, management, or even public health research. So our course is taught by global leaders in public health practice and policy. The course takes you through the fundamentals of public health science and on a pathway from this science through to its translation into policy and practice. And the teaching draws on the professional experience of our colleagues and the people you'll meet during the course. So our teaching team come from a broad range of professional backgrounds and expertise, which reflects the multidisciplinary nature of public health practice. So on this programme, you'll be taught by clinicians, medics, mathematicians, statisticians, geographers, environmental scientists, economists, engineers, just to name but a few of the professions that you will meet. The course is always updated and refreshed to ensure that we're teaching you about contemporary issues in global public health. If we can just go back to the previous slide, thank you. To ensure that we're constantly updating our work so that you're learning about cutting edge challenges in public health. And in order to support students on their learning journey, there's wider support than the academic side. So there's a Centre for Academic English, there's a Disability Advisory Service, and then who can each provide students with individual tailored support. And then thinking about the future direction of our graduates, we have a Careers Advisory Service. So our course has a 98% completion rate, and we have had students from over 75 countries participating in the programme, and we have an active network for alumni to engage with each other. So if we just move to the next slide, which looks in a little bit more detail at how the material is delivered and how the teaching is engaged with by the students. So to start with, I really want to say again that this is a very, very flexible programme. And in order to maximise the flexibility for the students on this part-time programme, we have completely asynchronous content, which can be undertaken independently and structured in a way that suits the individual. So there's over 800 videos on our programme, which has all been created by Imperial staff specifically for this programme. So this is where the core part of your teaching. And then to complement this asynchronous programme of learning, there are interactive live sessions and office hours, which are run weekly within each of the programmes, so that there's that opportunity for interactive engagement with the teaching staff and also your peers. Okay, and then the final slide that I want to go through with you today is about this concept of an accredited public health programme, because there are differences between the UK system and the system in the US. So in the UK, all universities are accredited, and so the UK government controls the degree awarding powers of universities and higher education institutions. And we have these quality assurance programmes that we participate with. So all the UK masters programmes will be recognised within the USA, and in our setting in the UK, the term accreditation means something a little bit different than it does in the US, and so accreditation means that your course has been formally approved by a professional body rather than the higher education institute. So this is just a note to say that whilst our public health programme isn't accredited in that sense, it is an accredited higher education programme where the master's credits will be recognised in other settings. Okay, so after that brief overview of our programme, I'm going to hand over to Natasha Kroom, who's the Deputy Director of the programme, and she's going to go into more detail about how this programme is delivered.
Great. Thank you so much, Bethan. Welcome, everyone. It's lovely to see you all here. Just to reintroduce myself, I'm Dr. Natasha Kroom. I'm the Deputy Director. I'm also one of the module leads for the research portfolio, which I will touch upon a bit later. So there are multiple pathways that you can join our programme with. And this again is because we are keen on maximising flexibility. So for the full Master Public Health degree, the MPH, you have two options. You can apply to the 2-year course, which means you complete the MPH within 2 years, or you can apply to the 3-year pathway, which means you complete the MPH in 3 years. It's exactly the same course, it's just spread out over longer time. Or we have a postgraduate certificate in public health. So this is a qualification that you can join if you're, say, from a medical background and you just want to learn the foundations in public health. You want to learn about epidemiology, stats, foundations of public health practice. This might be a good starting place to join, which is a 1 year, and you get a postgraduate certificate in public health. Thank you very much, Anna. But just to note, if you do go in and you join with the PG cert, as long as you pass everything that's required for that year, you can move on. So just because you join at the PG cert level, it doesn't mean you cannot go on and actually fully complete the Master of Public Health. We actually have another qualification, which is the Postgraduate Diploma of Public Health Online. So if you started with the PG cert and you went on, but you didn't go on to the final year, you could leave with a PG dip. But just to note that you only leave with one qualification. So you either leave with a PG cert, a PG dip, or an MPH. You don't leave with all three. And if you do want to go on to do the PG Dip or the Master of Public Health, there are particular modules that you will have to complete to do that. They are compulsory or core. Thank you very much, Anna. So as Bethan was saying, we are very keen on maximizing flexibility, but it's still important to know kind of there is a clear structure and a workload that you need to consider when you're thinking about which pathway you want to apply to. So we have 3 terms in the year, and you will be undertaking sort of 16 modules. There's 10 core / compulsory modules that if you want to do the MPH, you absolutely have to do those. And then you can choose 6 electives. Each of these modules about 7 to 8 hours of study. So that's why if you're considering the MPH and you're thinking of between the 2-year and the 3-year, the difference is that in the 2-year, you will take 3 modules per term. So that's going to be approximately anywhere from 21 to 24 hours per week of work that is expected. So many individuals, many of our students have worked full time. And so they have actually chosen to do the 3-year pathway because then you only take 2 modules per term. And that means the expectation of the amount of hours of work you do per week decreases to 14 to 16. We have a huge variety of assessments that you'll be taking. For each module, you need to undertake an assessment. There are policy briefs, you just see the list here, paper critiques, literature reviews, essays. We've really tried to develop assessments that can test authentically the key skills that you will need to undertake as a public health practitioner or researcher. Thank you very much, Hannah. So just to give you in brief a look at what the course looks like. So this is if you were coming in at the PG Cert. So, and the PG Cert is essentially the first year of the 3-year pathway. So if you start with a PG Cert, you can see you have 2 modules per term. You start with 2 core modules. So everyone takes Foundations of Public Health Practice and Epidemiology. And then in term 2, everyone takes stats. And then you have to pick one of the others. But the ones in red are compulsory modules. So if you are interested in going on to complete the full MPH, you will at some point will need to take those in red. And the ones in pink are ones you can just take depending upon your interest and your career aspirations. Thank you very much, Anna. So this is the 2-year pathway. So if you are applying to the full MPH and you want to do it in 2 years, this is what it will look like. You can see the 3 terms, you can see the core, you have to do in green, the compulsory are in red, you have to do those, but you have some choice about which year you can take those. And then the research portfolio, which I will discuss in more detail in a second, is in purple and you have to take those. And you will be doing 3 modules per term, except for the very last term where you are focusing on your own research project in LP4. Thank you very much, Anna. And this is the 3-year pathway for the MPH. So you can see in year 1, year 2, year 3, what you'll be doing in each of the terms. And you can see towards the end, the final 2 terms in your final 3 years, they very much will be focused on your research project, getting ready and undertaking that, collecting data, analysing, and writing that up. Thank you very much, Anna. So I've mentioned the research portfolio a few times, and it's a core part of this course, so it's important to discuss it. Every individual individual have to undertake a research project as part of the MPH, and we make sure that every student creates their own research question, develops their own research design, develops their own research plan with support, and undertakes this, collects any necessary data, analyzes the data, and writes it up. But please do not worry, we do not expect any prior research experience. We do this over 4 different modules, each module in a different term, and we sort of take you by the hand and teach you the necessary skills. So as you can see in the first RP1 module, we teach you about the research question. What skills do you need to actually design a clear, focused, and feasible research question? How do you search the literature to be able to identify gaps to develop that research question? We then take you on to think about the study design. What are the different types of methodologies, quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods? What would be appropriate to answer the research question? In RP3, we look at core research skills. These are really important skills to have. So thinking about ethics, how you write up an ethics application, how you apply for funding, and how do you develop a public involvement plan. And then finally, in RP4, you are actually going to conduct and write up your research. We ask you to make it authentic. We ask you to write up a journal article, 3,500 words, and develop a short dissemination blog, 5 minutes. And throughout, you will be given support through what we call the project support group and from the RP team. So you will be supported throughout while you're developing your own project. Thank you very much, Anna. I think that's the end of my slides, so I believe I hand back to Bethan.
Thanks very much, Natasha. So now is our opportunity to hear from previous alumni who've recently graduated from our programme. So I'm going to invite them to introduce themselves to you. So I'll start with James Rasalingam. If you could introduce yourself, thank you.
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is James Rassalingam. I'm a new MPH graduate actually, literally just a few weeks out, and I completed the degree with merit while working full time, which itself was quite a journey. My background bridges two worlds. So I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Toronto in mental health studies, focusing on neuropsychology, population health, and economics. And professionally, I work at Toronto Public Health, where I manage IT projects that keep public health operations running from clinics all the way down to the nuances of school vaccinations and so on. Um,
Thank you,
yeah, so
James.
what,
That's
yeah.
Thank you. And if I can ask Ifeoma Nakata to introduce herself.
Yes, so nice to be here. My name is Ifeoma Nkata. I currently work as a manager, government relations in the company where I manage at the moment. And before then, I actually had my bachelor's in arts. Surprisingly, I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering, which is actually in focus. I actually had my bachelor's in arts and then an MBA before I applied for my MPH, which I eventually obtained at the end of the day. So basically, what I do in my day-to-day function is to manage humanitarian projects of the company across some states in the federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. And I also have socially, I also manage some, as a leader, actually, the president of so many social groups where I manage women and the like. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much for being here today on the call. So we have 3 questions that we'll go through, which I think will help to the people who've joined the webinar today with their decisions about whether this is the right programme for them. So my first question is, why did you choose Imperial, and why did you specifically choose this course, this online Masters of Public Health? And if I can ask you first, James.
Sure. So what drew me to the MPH program as a whole was to connect the technical and digital side of health, so with real public health impact. So for me, my journey to Imperial, without going into a very, very long story. So my research mentor had always told me to focus on schools with a strong teaching impact and research capability. And to me, Imperial really fit that, especially because so when I was looking through my master's, I was going all out in terms of researching Imperial's protocols, and I noticed their curriculum had a machine learning module. which at the time was relatively new. This was back in 2022, and ChatGPT didn't even come out till like November of that year. So it was like super fresh. So the more I looked into it, I was like, wow, this is like a very dynamic program. And that, as well as my passion for trying to figure out how we can make healthcare systems more efficient and run more smoothly, and how we can sort of take what we know in public health and cram technology into it to make everything run smoother, more equitably. Um, and in my case, because I'm in Canada, by the way, looking at the program, it was very daunting being international, but it was also something that I've always wanted to do. Um, and the problem with studying as a whole is studying tends to be expensive. So for me, it's like, how do I work full time while managing it? So that led me to the online program, where I was able to work full time and manage full course load. Yeah, so it's a combination of seeing the diversity in the content, being able to take on the remote formatting, and yeah, just the ability to be able to be more diverse, but also the diversity in the cohort. I had a bit of an inkling of it, but I didn't expect the diversity level until I got into the program, where I got to meet people from all over the world. And then out of nowhere, we were meeting up randomly whenever we're going on conferences or trips. So it's that ability to network on a scale that is different from an in-person viewpoint that also kind of added to the overall decision.
Thank you very much, James. I'm sure there are some themes that will resonate with the people who joined today's webinar. And if I can ask you the same question, Ifeoma, about why did you choose Imperial in this course?
Okay, so the opportunity just came at the point when I just got a promotion. Like I mentioned earlier, I currently still manage the humanitarian projects of the company. And then some of the projects we handled at the time were health related, so we needed to go down to communities to advocate for a lot of health related matters and issues that we have, such as substance abuse, infertility, cancer, and the like. So when but when I got that promotion, and then coupled with the fact that I manage a lot of women, given the fact that I'm their leader, and I saw a lot of them struggle health-wise, I said to myself, I think it's about time to really go out there to gain knowledge, to add to this my work experience, and of course the social aspect of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I started looking for universities, and then there was quite a lot of universities out there. But for me, what really made Imperial stand out was, of course, the global recognition and of the flexibility, because I had to look at the course content and, of course, the everything that has to do with this program. And I saw a bit of flexibility. Remember, I just got a promotion, and it wasn't a good time for me to leave the job and then go for on-campus program. So I decided to look inward and then look at the content of the program, and I saw that it's something I can actually juggle with my current situation, and then still get a degree while also growing in my career. So I looked at Imperial, and then I saw that Imperial will give me what I really want, and then that was when I went for it.
Thank you. Great. So again, hearing about the flexibility of the program and combining it with work, that's great to hear. So my second question is whether you could reflect on an example of how you use some of the learning you gained during this program in your current role. So if I'll come to you, James, first.
Sure. So in my role at Toronto Public Health, I sort of sit at the intersectionality of IT and public health operations. So as the team lead, everybody comes to me for insights and consults in terms of, okay, how do we make this happen? Or what software do you recommend? What will be the nuances? So the MPH gave me a very unique lens to be able to look into it, not just from a top-down perspective of, well, yeah, this is cheap, this is useful, it's industry standard, but more of, okay, what do we actually need? How do we get on the ground and start looking at these from the ground up instead? Um, so it gave me more of a public health lens and otherwise what would have normally been a very technical role, especially moving on now to the next stage of my career, which is into management. Um, And it also allowed me to think more critically on how we collect and use data and create more of the privacy lens of things. Like, how do we help people help themselves rather than just tell them what to do? And I have tons of examples, but that's just the immediate ones off the top of my head.
That's great to hear. It's really good to hear that application of your learning and more broadly in your role, thinking about data and applying the tools and techniques in your position to that public health context. Thank you. Same question then, Ifeoma, about how you have applied the learning.
Okay, so for my own case, I'm already doing government relations. So part of my day-to-day function is to contribute to policy documents in the country. I manage government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and some of the policy documents, before I gained my MPH, I couldn't, on a knowledge perspective, contribute well in some of those documents. So, but since I finished, I now sit on a better position to contribute to those documents, which of course is going to inform um, what do you call it, policy outcome of the health sector. And then so many of these decisions are things that have really come up well within the period. And then I also want to say that even in managing the circles where I find myself, I'm now better informed. So I have when I see these problems around me, it's been easy now to really find solutions to some of these problems. I have opportunities rather to even engage. Now started engaging even not for profit organizations whom I've been inviting, especially in the social gatherings, social associations, to come talk to these women, to do advocacy, awareness, and of course education in some of the health challenges they've been experiencing. If I didn't have that knowledge, I'm sure it wouldn't have been, positive for me to really handle all of this. So it's something that I know that since I finished, I'm now in a better position to handle so many of those problems. And then I think we have had a lot of improved health outcomes since that time.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So, yeah, really interesting to hear how you're applying it across so many different aspects of your role, and you're actually seeing a change in outcomes as a result of being able to apply some of that learning. So thank you for sharing. Okay, so my final question is whether, putting yourselves in the position of the people who have tuned into our webinar, whether you have any advice to the prospective students who are potentially going to enroll on this programme. I'll start with you, James.
Sure. This one's going to be the heaviest question. So my biggest piece of advice to everybody is essentially be intentional about how you use the flexibility of the program, because whatever you apply to go to, try to have a plan so you stay focused on the goal, because it's very easy to get nuanced or caught up in the day-to-day and forget this is the end goal. This is what I'm going towards. Especially because remote learning does give you a ton of freedom, but you get the most out of it when you build a routine and stay engaged. Essentially, you get out whatever you put in. And having a routine also makes it easier to explore other things. Imperial is a massive school with tons of resources, and there's tons of stuff to play around with. So the more on top of things you are, the more you get to explore other things, or take on extracurricular projects and such. I'd also say don't be shy about connecting with others. In an online environment, I've come to realize that everybody inevitably feels shy at first. So it's a great opportunity to be the extrovert or the immediate socialite because everybody's immediately like reclusive. So some of my best conversations were actually with people in completely different health systems, but everybody just wants to connect. It just takes one person to start the fire. And finally, just be open in terms of exploring areas that are unfamiliar. I know some of the modules that intimidated me at first ended up becoming some of my more favorite ones because it allowed me to grow and develop myself, and especially connecting with professors. Make sure you connect with everybody. Professors are there to help, and one thing I've really appreciated about Imperial is how passionate everybody is in terms of helping you grow, both as an individual, but also in your academics and industry. Yeah.
Thank you, James. Thank you for those really detailed insights. They're really great to hear, and we as the faculty really appreciated your support when you were the student representative for your cohort. So thank you for that. Ifeoma, if I can ask you the same question.
I would say my advice to students is that there's no better time, because one thing I realize is that as you grow, both in your career, you also grow with responsibilities. So the earlier you make up your mind, to really embark on this journey, the better. Because there's no better time. You can't say, let me do it in the next 10 years. Let me do it maybe much later. Let me abandon it now and do it much later. It's something that once you start, encourage each and every one of them to at least look at it and then have it done with them. Push it away, push it out of their way, and then move on with their career and individual lives. And secondly, the support system is there. We experienced, and of course we enjoyed the support system that we had. Was actually awesome. Imagine being a full-time worker and then having to juggle with serious academic pursuits. So support system was always there from start to finish. It was so amazing. We have the union. The union is there. Should there be any reason to even go there? The lecturers are there. I recall during my time, there were so many speakers who attended, from different academia, researchers, people who brought real world health challenges to the table, and then, were able to, understand this particular program more. So I would encourage those who are, preparing to join right now to make the most out of the opportunity, and then accept it as one of those things that you need to do for yourself in life. The program, no doubt, will stretch you. It's actually a very serious program where you are expected to manage your time effectively, manage your time, make the most out of every opportunity you see, and then be the best in all you do. During my time, too, like I mentioned earlier, we had focus group. We had a lot of ways by which we're being assessed, and in each of those assessments programs, actually, we had support. And so it's something that if you are determined to make it, you will actually make it. And then the last and final word from me is that I use myself as an example, and I think I've spoken to quite a lot of persons in this, that public health is not only meant for medical doctors. It's not for those who already had, bachelors in MBBS. I didn't have that. My first degree was in arts, and then I was able to, I gained admission, I started, and I finished at the end of the day. So it's something that if you're committed to do, you will do it well, and then you will be happy you did that for yourself at the end of the day. So that's for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for reinforcing that message that public health is a career for people who have an incredible breadth of previous experience, and that it draws a lot of people in from a lot of professional backgrounds. So thank you for highlighting that. Okay, so thank you so much, James and Ifeoma, for joining us today and talking about your experiences as students on the programme. Hopefully that will have sparked some interest and ideas. Then we have the Q&A, just to remind everybody on the call, if that's sparked any questions for you, do put them into the Q&A. And I'm now going to hand over to Anna and Patson, who will talk to you in more detail about the admissions and application processes.
I'm the coordinator for the program, so I supervise everything, make sure that the student support is running, that everything is delivered, that you have access to the assessments, to the teaching content. So I kind of hover above to make sure that all the wheels are turning for the program. So how to join us? So first things first, you need to apply. There is an online application form on the Imperial website. You just need to find the name of a program, which is Master of Public Health Online, in contrast to the on-campus version. Once you apply, the first round of review is from the central admissions team, which checks whether you have met the entry criteria, which I discussed in a minute. And then obviously us as a School of Public Health will review application once it's passed our way. Once the application has been reviewed and you have been successful, you will receive an offer from us stating the conditions. So the conditions usually are the English language test, valid within it has to be taken within the last 2 years. It will be the academic conditions, so you have to provide the transcript if you haven't, and maybe the payment of the 10% deposit. And you can accept the offer before meeting the conditions, obviously, and you have the deadline to meet those conditions. So next step, so when you apply, you need to obviously meet the entry criteria. So the detailed international qualifications, we will be sending these around, so you can click and look for your country to see what equivalent of the undergraduate degree and the UK qualification of 2.1 in any subject. So as a matter mentioned, it doesn't have to be medicine. Now, you also need to provide, because since we encourage candidates from all variety of backgrounds, you be required to provide us with your CV, with your professional experience, education experience, voluntary experience, whatever you want to put, so that we have a better picture of who you are, what you want to achieve with our program. And we also expect you to provide 2 references. It's either from academic or professional. However, the very important thing, it has to come from the institutional email addresses, not personal. And the very important part of your application is providing us with a personal statement, which Natasha will discuss in detail in a minute, saying why you want to study public health and why with us. So now we have unfortunately the application fee, which is £90. However, there are ways of not paying it. So there are 2 things that you can do if you are not able to pay at the moment of application. So there is an application of a fee waiver. Also, we have a link here. We can also, as a program team, send you a link to the fee waiver code that you can apply when you're applying with us if you are not eligible for the fee waiver. So please make use of that if possible. And if you're applying for PG Cert, there is no fee. So if you're just starting on the PG Cert, you want to see how it's going, whether you like it and whether you want to continue, obviously there is no fee for that. Now, I will pass you over to Natasha to discuss what you should be including in your personal statement.
Great, thank you so.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Anna. Yes, I'm one of the reviewers for the School of Public Health, and as Anna outlined, we do kind of expect you. There are several documents we expect you to include, and one of those is a personal statement. Now, I appreciate across the globe in all different institutions, what a personal statement is slightly different. Different cultures, countries, institutions have different expectations. But I would say, I'm just going to outline kind of what we expect from Imperial and for this course. I would say what might be a good length is 2 pages of A4. Approximately, I think you don't want to go too long and you don't want to be too short. And within that, you really want to, just as Anna said, outline what your motivation is for public health. We have accepted students from all different backgrounds, just as Ifoma was saying, pretty much any background you can imagine, we've had students from. And that's fine. If you're interested in public health, you want to change your career pathway, then absolutely that's fine. But explain why. How did you get interested in public health? Why do you want to study public health? What's your career aspirations? And why would an MPH help you achieve that? Talk about any previous related work experience you have with public health. Now, I appreciate some of you may not be working in public health currently, but then have you been taking any courses? Have you been reading any journals? Have you been doing any volunteering? What relevant public health experience have you got that you can sort of discuss? And then this goes also with research. So have you had any research experience? I mentioned earlier, we don't expect or assume any prior experience, but several students who are on the course have had that experience. In your undergrad, you might have done a research project, and that may or may not be related to health or public health. But also, in regards to the motivation, it's helpful to kind of, as I mentioned, explain why you're interested in public health, but why you're interested in this course specifically. So why Imperial? Why this course? Have you looked at the curriculum? Are there key sort of modules that you think would really help you achieve your career aspirations? It's helpful to kind of just explain that to us. So that's the personal statement. It's your chance to kind of say to the reviewer, this is why I'm applying to this course, and this is what I think it will help me achieve. Thank you very much, Anna. Could you move on to the next slide? So just as Anna mentioned, your application, we look at your CV, we look at your personal statement, we look at your transcripts, we look at your references. And just to highlight, you may be invited to an online interview, and this will just be a short informal interview to give you a chance to expand on what you put in your application. Yes, I think that's the end of my slide, so I'm handing you back now.
Thanks, Natasha. So this is my bit. Hi, everyone. I'm Patson Godino, and I'm one of the administrators on the program. And in my role, I'll be helping you throughout the admissions process, answering queries. If you have any issues with the application, and then liaising with the admissions team and the fees team as well. So I'm going to talk to you about the offer conditions and what happens after you accept an offer. So if you are made an offer on the program, on the admission system, you'll see your offer as condition pending. And then once you see that, you have 21 days to accept your offer. Once you accept your offer, your status then will change to condition firm, and the admissions team will then lay out the offer conditions. So as Anna mentioned previously, the offer conditions could be an English test if it's required. You need to provide proof of your academic qualifications, which could be verifying your transcripts, and then a payment of a 10% tuition fee deposit. If you have the fee waiver, then that will be not mentioned in the offer conditions. And then you also need to confirm whether you are enrolled on another program or not. That is confirmation of no dual enrollment, because the college doesn't allow for dual enrollment. And then once all the offer conditions are met, your status will finally change to unconditional firm, and you'll be ready to enroll when it comes to September. Next slide, please. So one of the conditions is meeting the English language test, and the college requires that you meet the higher level of English requirements for the postgraduate program. So there's a few examples there. For IELTS, you need a 7 overall with a minimum of 6.5 in all elements. Then for the TOEFL, you need 100 overall with a minimum of 22. And then we also offer the Duolingo test, and you need 125 overall with no less than 115 in any sub-score, basically. There's also other tests available, and we can share those links with you after the webinar. And for dual enrollment, again, you cannot register. So you need to deregister from any other program. Thank you. And next slide. So there's funding support available as well. You can explore the scholarships that the college offers through the Imperial Scholarship Search tool on our website and see if you might be eligible for one of those. The School of Public Health department also offers a master's scholarship, and that covers tuition fees for either home or overseas students. So for this, applicants must submit 2 separate applications, one for the scholarship, and the other one is the regular application, and the applicant must also be made an offer on the program to be eligible for it. So for this year, we also have another newly introduced scholarship. It's the Commonwealth Distance Learning Master Scholarship. So there are 5 full scholarships available. Again, this covers home or overseas fees, and you can check the eligibility details on the website. I'll also post the link to that site in the chat right now, so you can save that and have a read through it and see if you might be eligible for that. Just give me a second. So I posted a link to the Commonwealth Scholarship in the chat. And that again, like the Department of Scholarship, you need to have an application with us and you should be made an offer to be eligible. Also, the deadline for that is the 31st of March 2026. Thank you. And the next slide. So I think this goes back to Bethan.
Patson, yes. So just some commonly answered questions on the programme. So the first one, do I need to attend any teaching in person? This is a clear no. There is no requirement to attend the campus in London. However, all students are invited to the graduation ceremony, which takes place in person at the Royal Albert Hall in South Kensington in London. We've discussed this. If people do not have a clinical or a science background, we don't want to deter you from applying to the course. We have applicants who come from a diverse range of professional backgrounds, are united by a common interest in public health. So please do look at the modules that we offer and whether you feel that this would be the right programme for you. And then finally, in terms of the degree award that people obtain on this programme, degree certificates are issued from the Master of Public Health programme. So I think we have some time now to go through the Q&As that have come through in the chat session here. So I think people have already started putting their names against the questions. So the first one we have here is asking if the content of the course is different from the in-campus or the on-campus version. And I think I can say that the programs are not identical, but they are very heavily related, and some of the modules do run in the same curriculum across both on-campus and online versions, although there are some differences in some of the courses that can be offered on both of the programs. The next question, I think, Anna is going to answer, asking about 30 credit 1-year courses in terms of career development. Anna?
So there are a few similar questions in the Q&A. So the questions are about what to do after this degree and what to do with the 30 credit. If somebody just completes PG Cert, what career options there are? So this is the question. This is the two corresponding questions. So if you and Natasha would be able to answer what to do with the PG Cert, how to use it. And then the third question is also similar. If you already have an MSc and working clinically, but wish to pivot into public health, what to do? So what does it help with if you do an MPH?
I can perhaps take the question about public health careers. And what I'm going to say in answer to this is that I would really recommend that you take a look at the public health accreditation bodies in the setting where you're practicing to find out what the minimum requirement is for somebody in a public health role. For example, in the UK setting, most people who train through the Faculty of Public Health will complete a Masters of Public Health programme as part of their training. But again, I would recommend that you have a look at the requirements in your particular setting to find out whether the certificate or the diploma or the full degree programme would be right for you and your career aspirations.
Yeah.
So Natasha, because public health, what careers are, the degree can lead to? I think we have everyone on the program. So also this careers, also James and Ifeoma show that there's no sky's the limit pretty much. But Natasha, maybe you can advise like broadly.
Yes,
where to
no,
work.
I was just going to say about just echoing what Bethan said. I think we offer these different awards because it really depends what your career aspiration is. There are so many different jobs you can go in to. Obviously, you can actually go to be a public health practitioner, humanitarian settings. You could work for policy, for governments. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can work in research, and then breaking it down even further, infectious diseases, non-communicable diseases. I mean, there are so many different jobs out there. Some of those will require you to have a full MPH. And this is why I think it is important. And we always say to students, actually, joining the course, it's good to have, and I think just echoing what James said earlier, it's really good to have a clear goal in your mind. What do you want to get out of the masters? Because when you pick your electives, that's a chance. If you're doing the 2-year pathway, you're going to have to pick an elective in the very first term. So it's really good to have a clear idea, have a look at the electives, and think about which would best help me to achieve my career goal. And it might be that you're not 100% certain exactly what career you want to go for, or a specific job, but you have an idea. So that will help you. And we've had people who've done the PG cert before, particularly say maybe a medic who doesn't necessarily want to go into public health, become a public health practitioner, but they just want to gain that foundational knowledge that they can build into their current clinical practice. So that's why you might want to do a PG cert or do a PG dip. But there are definite roles that would require you, for example, if you want to work for the WHO, they often expect sort of an MPH to work in many roles. So it's really important for you to kind of research your passion, your interest, your career aspirations, and kind of work from there. But of course, as we said, you can join at the PG certs and carry on to do the full MPH. If you're not sure, you can go in at that level and carry on and complete it in 3 years.
So there's another question. Now we're going to the research project. So since Natasha, you're working on actually the research portfolio team, there's a question whether projects can be completed within that wherever the person is working, whether that can be their work related. So if you can talk a bit, what sort of research project you've seen, what sort of things people do, because they vary greatly.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So again, because you are developing your own research question, we help support that. We absolutely recognise we have students from a wide variety of backgrounds. Some are already working in public health institutions, in research institutions, and you might have already maybe collected data that you could analyse, or you might be working on a project which you could carve out a bit of that specifically for your research project. So there is potential there, but there are some clear guidelines you need to follow. This needs to be an independent research project. So you can't just kind of take the research project you're working on at work and just kind of submit it. It has to start after you've joined the course. And that we have to make sure that it is clearly independent. It's you working on this yourself. Although you are allowed external supervisors, there'll be a lot of guidance there, but it's really important that it's your work. So that's what we need to make sure. But there's absolutely chances for you to kind of reach out to the research portfolio team and check whether or not your project would be eligible if you're working on it, and we can discuss how we can see if it is eligible to do that. But yes, absolutely. In terms of the types of projects, we've had people do systematic reviews. We've had people do secondary data analysis. We've had people do primary data collection, normally with qualitative, say, interviews or focus groups, because a survey can be difficult to get the numbers in the short amount of time to collect data. So part of our role is making sure that you developed a research question that is feasible within the master's timelines and processes.
Okay. There's a lot of obviously question regarding the English language requirement, but obviously, and then academic qualifications. But these, when we'll be sending slides around, everyone can click on the links and check what requirements students need to have. So some countries away from English language requirement, but there's a list of those countries on that English requirement page. I think it's 5 or 6 countries. So everyone else, unfortunately, needs to take an English test. And there's one more question about, okay, this question disappeared mysteriously, but I think
I just answered it.
Oh, you answered it. Okay.
Yeah, I just answered it. Just to clarify, the on-campus MPH is a 1-year full-time course, so there's no PG Cert or PG Dip. The reason we can do that is because our course is part-time over several years.
And we can see then in the chat, Patson posted some links that you can use now and check how the application process looks like. So the slides and the recording will be sent out to everyone. So you can, I think that it will be posted on YouTube as well, if I remember correctly. So everyone can rewatch, check the slide, check all the links, and hopefully apply and join us. So again, important thing, the deadline for the application for the Commonwealth scholarships is the end of this month. So about 3 weeks left. So the students need to make application on our website and on Commonwealth websites. One application is not enough. So hopefully, but we're happy to answer any questions. I'll just reshare what is my share button? Reshare the email address for us. You can also scan the QR code to access the information on our program. So MPH Online, this is our email address. Please do email us with specific questions. And then you can check what modules we deliver. You saw an overview, but we have short descriptions of the modules that we deliver and some more information on this website. So scan the code, check will be there. And I think that's it from us.
Yes, thank you, Anna. So I'll just draw the session to a close by saying thank you to all of you who've joined online and for your interest in our programme. And thank you to the alumni who've spoken with you today. And a big thank you to the teaching team who've organised this seminar. And as Anna said, if you have any further questions, please do reach out via the links on the slides. Thank you.